Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your daily dose of zombies news from the game and its community here on COD Zombies HQ. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We've got a lot to go over. Just a few hours since Treyarch made the public declaration to the zombies community yesterday that one of the new side Easter eggs added into Mauer Der Toten hasn't been solved yet, kind of taunting us in the community saying, hey guys, you still haven't found this yet, what gives? Well, only a few hours later, the zombies community proved Treyarch wrong and solved the new side Easter egg which has been added into the map. It was solved first by YouTubers who discovered that throwing down 13 explosive nades down into this sewer hole in Mauer will result in little audio cues and then finally a Easter egg reward. The Easter egg reward varies in what you get, but you'll always get at least one Casimir device. There's also the possibility to get legendary score streaks as well as a free perk from this Easter egg, and apparently you can do this 3 separate times in one game of Mauer Der Toten. Honestly, a nice little Easter egg. It'll give you something to do if you ever find like spare frags or semtexes on the ground that you don't really want to use. Pick them up, throw them down the sewer drain, and in time you'll have a new reward. I know Treyarch wanted the first person to discover this to actually contact them on Twitter, so I got Sastak to send out a tweet letting Treyarch know that yes, it was indeed him that found it first, and it'll be interesting to see whether or not Treyarch responds. Here's hoping that while this is the first time Treyarch has added new side Easter eggs to maps after they've been released, that this isn't the last time, and we'll be seeing more side Easter eggs added into old maps in the future. Next up, some players are noticing that Treyarch may have made an absolutely massive change to the zombies mode here in Cold War without telling anybody. Specifically, at least for now, it seems like this change is exclusive to the Outbreak game mode, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it come to the round-based maps, where some players are reporting that it seems like new Outbreak public matches are running on dedicated servers rather than relying on individual hosts in order to make the Zombies multiplayer work. Zombies has always run on a host system, meaning if your host leaves the game, you'll get a connection interruption. The game will try to migrate the host to another player in the game. That often fails, and it basically means game over. Whereas when the Zombies game is running on dedicated servers, nobody's the host, meaning anybody can leave the game, you won't get a connection interruption, and odds are you'll get a far better connection to the actual server and to the other players because it'll be connecting to a server within your region. So if this is indeed the case, if Treyarch is allowing Outbreak to run on dedicated servers, this is like absolutely massive to the future of zombies. They have never done this before, where before it always seemed like the position of Activision was, well, zombies is a PvE cooperative game mode. Latency doesn't really matter. We don't need to spend the extra money to give zombies dedicated servers, whereas multiplayer, they can have dedicated servers. That's important. But if this is in fact true, it shows that Activision sees zombies different now. That they're willing to spend the money to run zombies on their own dedicated server is actually a really important insight as to how important Activision and Treyarch sees the zombies game mode going forward. We know that Treyarch is involved in lead developing the zombies for the Vanguard mode. Beyond that, we know that a zombies standalone project is in development. It seems to me that Cold War has kind of been the catalyst for Activision to see how important the zombies mode is to their games, with the addition of dedicated servers into the zombies mode kind of being the cherry on top, being a very important stepping stone for the zombies mode in the future. And just speculating here, but this could very well also be a stepping stone into something that we've been asking for in the zombies mode since Black Ops 2 to make its return, and that being the return of competitive zombies co-op in the form of Grief. Grief with 8 players connected via peer-to-peer networking in a zombies match might be a little bit too much for an individual host to handle within Cold War or in any future game, but if a Grief playlist was running on a dedicated server, well, networking all of a sudden doesn't really become a big issue anymore. Maybe the reason we haven't seen Grief up until this point in any zombies mode since Black Ops 2 is because they wanted to actually release the mode with dedicated servers and they didn't get the approval from Activision to actually spend the money to run those servers until now. And I'm sure those of you guys, you poor souls that play in public zombies and Outbreak and in round-based maps, have experienced the pain and suffering of migrating hosts and leaving hosts over and over again throughout the years. With dedicated servers, that's no longer a problem, and if this is indeed the case, hopefully Treyarch will make a public statement on it sometime soon. Next up, in a bit of a surprise, I didn't really expect to see these until the halfway point of Season 5, but here it is, the Marshal Shoddy Pistol is now live within Cold War Zombies. If you read the comments of my last video, you would have got a little bit of a sneak preview as to what the challenge was for the Marshals, but now we know that you gotta take down 30 disciples that have 5 zombies at least under their control, which honestly isn't that bad and is very doable. You can accomplish this within one game of Mauer Der Toten, where whenever a disciple boy spawns in, just make sure you train around him for a little while, and once you think that he has 5 zombies under his control, where the zombies all have different purple mists around them, then you can take him down. With how often disciples spawn into Mauer Der Toten, especially in the higher rounds like above 25, you'll be able to get this done no problem and unlock the Marshals for yourself in your own game. But the best part of the Marshal Shotties, especially in zombies, is that once you level them up, you can equip them akimbo and use Dragon Breath shells in order to take down zombies a little bit easier. To help with that, Treyarch is kicking off a double XP, double weapon XP weekend starting tomorrow at 10 AM Pacific time, which will help you level up the Marshals a whole lot easier. I'm not expecting these things to be like extremely good in zombies, but I am expecting them to be a lot of fun to use. I can't wait to get my hands on them. But moving on to our next story, speaking of public statements from Treyarch, I've gotten like probably 40 or 50 messages about this over on Twitter, where it seems like the applied blueprint function in the game is still extremely bugged, where if you try to apply a blueprint to a weapon, it'll duplicate that weapon, meaning you'll have 3 or 4 weapons without even having the Mule Kick perk. And it'll also glitch out the weapons that it duplicated, giving them to you at different rarities, reducing PAP levels of weapons you already have. It is not a good thing to be in the game, even though it is kind of fun to be shuffling through like 4 or 5 different weapons in your inventory. I was really expecting Treyarch to comment on this or maybe fix it in Tuesday's update, but they didn't. We haven't really heard a peep about this except a few days ago when the update dropped from the Treyarch community manager saying that it will send the clips over to the team and that hopefully they've gotten those clips and that they're working on a fix. If they do, hopefully they'll release that fix with a new Zombies update likely to release tomorrow. Also, just a quick note for everybody playing on PCs, and I've also actually seen people on consoles reporting this, that after Season 5, Outbreak and round-based maps have been crashing out a lot more frequently than they have been before. It's a major issue plaguing especially the PC at this time. Activision has asked for people to send their crash reports to them to hopefully get this issue resolved sooner, and again, hopefully they do that via hotfix sometime soon. Next up, the addition of armor for enemy zombies in Cold War has always been a little bit confusing. We see them in the form of the Krasny Soldat as well as the armored zombies that start to appear in greater numbers past like round 15-16. The release of the new Death Perception perk has as one of its upgrade tiers the ability to do 25% more damage to armored zombies, but you don't really get a good idea of exactly how much more damage you're actually doing per shot to enemy zombies. Well, Reddit user Necessary OK made a fantastic video showing off in-game what the actual damage increases look like. Starting off first comparing a no death perception to death perception demonstrating a noticeable increase, then showing off death perception and dead shot for even more of an increase, and lastly showing off death perception, dead shot, and the use of the cavalry barrel attachment, which does increase damage to armor. To show off with these 3 things, you can increase your damage to armored zombies by 247%. A massive increase. I've been running the cavalry barrel not really knowing how much more damage it does to armor, so this video came in clutch, kind of demonstrating that yeah, it is actually an effective attachment to run. Next up, it's time for Outbreak versus Vehicles, and in today's edition, sticking with the theme we've had from yesterday's edition of this segment, where Mr. Orda isn't very happy about tank shells being fired at him, and in response, as any one of us would have done, smacks the ground right in front of the Orda tank and sends it to the moon, slingshotting him across the map and far, far into the sky, never to be seen again. But guys, that wraps up the show today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider leaving a thumbs up on the video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Hopefully I kind of like emphasize in a segment about dedicated servers that if it's actually true that Outbreak is now running on dedicated servers, I kind of can't understate how important that is, even though it just seems like a small little thing. Like, who cares? It's dedicated servers. But again, this has never happened for Zombies before, and it does in fact give us that little window into the execs at Activision willing to shell out some serious dough that's needed to run dedicated servers across the Outbreak game mode. And hopefully, if yes, dedicated servers are running an Outbreak, that it'll come to the round base maps fairly soon. But guys, I want to thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you with another Zombies news video tomorrow. Peace.